Excuse me.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 3rd, 2022 board meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? Here.
Councilman Carini.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Here.
Councilwoman Miller.
Here.
Councilman Muscarella.
Here. Now we're going to ask Councilwoman Miller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Place your hand over your heart. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we start the public hearings, let the record reflect that the Town Clerk Murray is distributing the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2023 to myself and all the board members. Just so anybody knows, this budget reflects a tax freeze for the residents throughout the town of Hempstead, and is working with the entire board and the feedback, and all the commissioners and all the departments were able to present this tax freeze budget, especially at a time with record inflation and gas prices up. So I appreciate everybody working together for the betterment of all the town residents. With that, thank you very much, Kate. Madam Clerk, would you please call the first public hearing?
Yes, we have a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Belrose Terrace, near Island Park and near Valley Stream.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do not have any slips. Any member of the public that did not sign in wishes to be heard on item number 1? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Belrose Terrace, Elmont, near Island Park, and Oceanside.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, I do not have any slips. Anybody did not sign in that wishes to be heard on item number 2? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Well done, Tommy.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Belmore and North Baldwin.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips. Anybody wish to be heard on this item that did not sign in? Item number 3? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding vehicles speed limits in Oceanside on Alice Avenue.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? All right, I do not have any slips on this item. Does anybody wish to be heard on item number 4 that did not sign in? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have handicap parking on public streets in Belrose Terrace, Elmont, near Island Park, Oceanside, and Uniondale.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, I do not have any slips. Any member of the public that did not sign in wishes to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed increase and improvement of the Town of Hempstead Refuse Disposal District.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do have a slip on this. I have Bonnie Garone. Yeah. Thank you. Morning, Ms. Garone. If you give your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Bonnie Garone, Rockville Center. As I understand it, this is a proposal by the Department of Sanitation for certain improvements consisting of the purchase of equipment, and this is a hearing so that people can voice their opinion on that. But what exactly is the equipment?
Okay, let me get a representative either from the Controller's Office or the Sanitary Department. Our Controller.
John Mastromarino, Town Controller. This is a preliminary before the hearing notice, so there will be a public hearing with all the details. We're still gathering all the information from bond counsel. So this is not a hearing right now. It's just a notice that a hearing is coming.
Well, it's called a public hearing, so
Right.
I'm a little confused.
The details will be at the public hearing.
Well, you know that the cost is $550,000, so how is that determined? I mean, what is it that you're looking to buy?
I think the Controller just said this is just calling for a hearing where we're going to have a formal hearing where they can have a presentation being made. Is that correct, John?
That is correct.
Okay, so there'll be another hearing date. We'll be able to provide all the answers to that. This is just calling for the hearing.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Can you just tell me what the purpose of this being on the calendar today is?
It's to call for a hearing.
It's a legal requirement. It's not anything that we decided to do. It's in the law. We have to have this first and then a public hearing on the actual details of it.
So this is to tell people that sometime in the future, there will be a hearing
Right.
on something that's not specified today.
At the hearing, there will be all the details. I've said that twice.
Ms. Garone, if you look at the resolution, the end of the resolution specifically says that a public hearing will be called in the future, doesn't give a date, in which there will be discussions with regard to the $550,000 that you're talking about.
Okay, so I'm honestly not trying to be difficult. I don't understand what this.
I don't think any of us think that way. I think this is a legal hurdle they have to comply with, and then when they're ready for the actual hearing, we will have that. And you can ask questions of it, but this is a legal hurdle to get to that level.
Okay, so can you just, is it possible for you to tell me the statutory provision that requires this?
I'll
So I
have
could
the
learn.
town attorney follow up with you if you'd like.
Yeah, you can't give it to me now? Other people might be interested.
Well, I think really, he said it's a legal requirement. I don't think he probably has a citation of it. He'll be happy to follow up with you on it. But like I said, we're not doing the actual hearing on it. We've let everybody know, and it says it in the resolution. So I'll have him follow up with you. I'd be delighted to. But I said it's not the hearing on it, so we don't want to get off track on confusing people.
Okay.
All right? Thank you. Anybody else that didn't sign in and wishes to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion on item number 6?
Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed increase and improvement of the Town of Hempstead Street Lighting District.
All right. Any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, I do have one person signed in, Bonnie Garone. John, is this basically the same? And just so you know, as a preempt there, it is, again, a legal hurdle that they had to require for this one, and probably number 8, John, am I correct about that? And this isn't anything new. We've been doing this for a while this way. Is that correct? It is. Again, it's to notice people that there will be a hearing forthcoming on it, and of course, that hearing will be noted on any calendar that it's ever listed on.
Okay, let me just ask, if you can you tell us what the proposed district upgrades are for the street light district of the Traffic Control Division of the Department of General Services in the amount of about $1 million? Can you tell us today what
No,
those are?
They can't because they're not prepared for that hearing. They don't have all the specifics with them. Again, this is just to notice that a legal requirement that they have to give a hearing. And again, at that hearing, they'll have that and they'll be able to answer those questions for you.
So I'm just jumping ahead, I assume it'll be the same answer for number 8?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay? I appreciate it. And like I said, when you'll see it on the calendar, we appreciate that. Any other questions? Anybody do not sign in for this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
Move that the public hearing be closed, the item adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the proposed increase and improvement of the Town of Hempstead Park District.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, if not, Ms. Garone, I know you signed in again, and again, it's the similar answer for the other one. Are you okay, or we're good? Okay, I do not have, I do have, nope, that's it on item number 8.
Supervisor, I move that the hearing be closed, the item adopted.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next public hearing.
We have the application of Front Street Mufflers, Tires, and Auto Repair Incorporated for a special exception change of use from a gasoline station to an auto repair public garage and to maintain the current use as an auto repair located in Uniondale.
Sir, I think I recognize you if you give your name and address for the record.
Michael's absence, Sir Tillman, Ballin, Adler, and Hyman, 90 Merrick Avenue, East Meadow, New York. For the applicant, this is the application of Front Street Muffler for a special exception. The service station has been there since the 1950s. It was originally built by Chevron as a gas station and 2 service bays. The gas tanks were removed in the 70s, and it has continued to operate as a service station, as they would like to continue to do so now. We have a number of letters by our neighbors in support of the application. If I could hand them up, including one from the woman across the street, Janet Weeks, who's also the president of the Kiwanis Club, and she wrote a very nice personal message to the board, which was nice of her. Thank you.
That's great. We will take that, and that will be made part of the record.
And if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
It's nice to see you, Mrs. Absent.
Thank you.
I know we might have 1 or 2 questions from the board. I see there's a resident who came in to make, either ask a question or make a comment. So why don't we see what the resident has to say before we take any questions of the board? Fair enough? Okay. So I'm going to start with Ms. Escobar. Hi, how you doing? If you come to the back,
I'm sorry, Mr. Clavin. Ms. Escobar and Ms. Black are with me, and they're not looking to speak, but they were here to answer any questions that might have come up.
Fantastic. That makes it a little bit easier. Well, welcome to Town Hall, both of you. Nice to see you. Well, with that, I'll see if any of the board members have any questions.
Excuse me. I have so many questions, and I wish would you like to see these photos that I have?
I think I have them, and Ms. Gooseby, I have some new photos as well,
You can look at them.
if I can. The applicant is the tenant of the premises.
No, but I want them back. Yeah. I don't have a second.
Yep. You know what?
You have those photos?
I did, and I have more current. Can I hand these to you to hand up?
You can just look at them because I want them back so we can discuss those.
Photos.
You're good. That's not the bad ones. Let's see if you can see the really ones, really, that are really, really bad.
Yeah, there we go.
You have those?
Oh, I'm sorry. There were more. If you wanted them back, there were more of them here.
Yeah, I want them back.
Okay. And I have more current photos to the town board.
These are his.
The service center was cleaned up. It was, all the vehicles that shouldn't have been there were removed. The applicant is looking to actually invest in the property. She's the tenant. She's not the owner. We want to put up new fencing. We want to pave the front of pave the entire paved area of the service station. But of course, she's hesitant to do it without approvals so that she knows she'll be able to stay there as the tenant.
Mr. Zapson, I see a couple of photos, and I know you were given ones by the town which showed stacking of tires and fencing and garbage, particularly along the red fence with the yellow house, and it seems like part of that was rectified. Is that an accurate description of that?
I'd say it was substantially rectified. Of course, the business on it, I have more pictures too, if there's any one specific side.
You'll have to make the representation. The deputy supervisor gave me the photo. I know it was submitted to you, but I could see the Front Street sign right there at the corner, and that's where the garbage was stacked up and piled. Was that rectified as well?
Yes.
Okay.
This one?
That's that one. And again,
When did she do this? When was this done?
yeah.
One were the pictures taking, or one was it?
No,
Your
I have my
pictures.
pictures, your pictures.
Amelia, do you know what day you took the pictures?
Wednesday.
What is past Wednesday?
Yeah, like I said, I see a couple of, definitely some cleanup. I see there was one, it looks like a portable lift, a temporary lift that was on the cement block. Is that fair to say that has been removed? The exterior one, that is, like, that's this one here.
Okay.
That matches.
What about all those tires?
There is an exterior lift still there, Mr. Supervisor.
Nope. No,
Amelia, can you come up here, please?
I'm just disturbed over this because it seems so bad. I don't know. We just took these recently, and I want to make sure that everything is done as it should be. I don't know how the neighbors stayed there all this time with all of this stuff.
Ms. Escobar, if you just give your name and address for the record, just so we have it.
Hello, my name is Amelia Ablack, 1201 Front Street, Uniondale.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know they've submitted pictures that the tires that were on the fencing have been removed. There's definitely been a cleanup of the perimeter of the premises. There was one photo we had of a hydraulic lift outside that it was blue. Is that still outside, or has that been removed?
Been removed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the blue one was removed. There's something that's orange. I just handed up pictures that's cleaned and is actually there.
That's the other one. I got you.
Right, that blue one's been removed.
That's right. The orange one is a permanent. The blue one is a temporary. Okay. I think the biggest concern is, the cleanliness around the perimeter for the residents. We want to make sure that it's going to be maintained the way it is now. That the neighbors, they're living next to it, and that's great that you got submission from the individual across the street. But our concern is that, we want to make sure that nothing's piled up against those fences, that lift isn't brought back outside. Can we get those assurances from you? Yes. Okay.
Will you replace the fence as well?
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's it for that.
Like I said, that's what it comes down to, just the assurances, and we will ask our building department to go out there and inspect it. So, like I said, we want any surprises. We just want to have good neighbors in the area. We appreciate the fact that you've been a great neighbor and tenant for so long, but a couple people said, hey, can we do that? And it's great that you're willing to make those commitments to us.
And they have recently entered into a maintenance agreement with someone to provide regular maintenance and cleaning as well.
Okay.
That'll be done as well. Okay. If I could just broach one more thing, I don't know if it came up. I was asked about what fencing that they might or might not want to put up around the premises. Actually, the town put a restrictive covenant on the property in the 50s for fencing, which they've substantially been complying with. Of course, if they wanted a new type of fencing, that would be fine too. Their only concern was with the gates. They want to make sure they'll be able to open and close the.
And I think the deputy supervisor's photo indicated, the one we had, that the gate seemed to be broken. So if you can assure us that that will also be repaired, that was the one you had. It was the broken gate. Because it looked like the plastic and the brown gate looked okay, but it was the one that seemed to open and close seemed to be the one in disrepair. Can you assure us that'll be rectified?
Yes, that'll be rectified. The only real question is, satisfied will fix them and maintain them, or there is some question that you might want us to change them, in which case, rather than fixing these and changing them, they would just change them.
I think you should change them because, first of all, I don't think the neighbors want to look through whatever you're doing over there. They need to have something that looks good, because I don't understand how they stayed there this long with all of this junk that you have, all the tires and everything. I really don't see it. So it has to be redone, and it has to look good.
Right, so the question, Ms. Gooseby, is do you prefer to see a PVC fencing or the chain link?
I would prefer the PPC.
Okay, so we'll put that around the exterior with our neighbors. I guess the inside by the gates might be a little different, but certainly around,
The front,
right.
just front, only the gates.
Well,
Like-
and we could talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're very, very glad to do it.
Okay.
Any other questions of the board? Okay. I don't have any other slips. Does anybody wish to be heard that did not sign in this item? Okay. Then I guess at this point I'll say, Mr. Zapso, we appreciate the presentation of your client. And we're appreciative of, your indication of maintaining it now in the condition that it now is in. But is there a motion?
What, do I make a motion? Okay. We'll move that we reserve this, reserve the motion for now.
I think it was.
I will move, I'm sorry, my throat is, I move that we reserve the decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, get a second on that?
Second.
Supervisor Clavin?
Aye.
Councilman Greenie? Aye. Councilman Diaz-Esposito? Aye. Councilman Dunn? Aye. Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
And Councilman Muscarelli?
Okay. Before we call, we're going to call up item number 10, which is going to be setting up. I'm just going to take a 3-minute recess with the town board. Excuse me.
Hello, Elena, how are you?
Check, check. How we sound? How's it go? Sounds good?
Check. All right, yeah, it's not bad. You can hear me pretty good over there, Drew? Could be, right? All right. Check. Better. Good? All right. You're good to go.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
All right. We have the application of Baldwin Jazz LLC, care of Breslin Realty, Development Corporation in the Baldwin Mixed Use Zoning Overlay District of the Building Zone Ordinance.
All right, good morning. If you identify yourself, Counselor.
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor and members of the Town Board. On behalf of the applicant, Baldwin Jazz LLC, in care of the Breslin Organization, Elisabetta Kashignano, with the law firm of Son, Ward, Braff, Koblenz, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Suite 601, Uniondale, New York. With me today are David Orwasher, Chief Development Officer of Breslin Realty Organization and Baldwin Jazz LLC, along with Robert Rosenberg and Justin Breslin, also of Breslin Realty Organization. Walter Sieber, Director of Site Development at Cameron Engineering. Jack Raker, Architect with Minna Wasco. Dave Tepper, Planning Manager at Cameron Engineering. Rebecca Goldberg, Sequa Traffic and Parking Engineer with Cameron. And Barry Nelson, Real Estate Expert. Prior to beginning my formal presentation, our entire team would like to express thanks to the Town Board, its staff, the Design Review Board, its staff, the Building Department, and really all the town departments related in one way or another for the level of attention and cooperation, not just to this project, but also to the entire Baldwin downtown area. We know that Baldwin community has been waiting many years for a revitalization of its downtown, and the town of Hempstead has played an integral role in developing an overlay district to capture the needs of this community. So thank you on our behalf and on behalf of my whole team. The subject property is a 1.acre site located at the southeast corner of Sunrise Highway and Grand Avenue with addresses at 2253 Grand, 736, 746, and 753 Sunrise Highway in Baldwin, New York. The site comprises the following parcels on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Section 54, Block 101, Lot 26, 30, 33, 35, 38, 39, 41, 42, and 129. The premises have frontage on 3 different public rights-of-way, to wit 71.57 feet of frontage along Grand Avenue, 277.69 feet of frontage on Sunrise Highway, 282.5 feet on Harrison, and 58.9 feet on a separate lot on Harrison. The premises are generally bounded by Sunrise Highway and the Baldwin Long Island Railroad train station to the north, Harrison Avenue and commercial businesses to the east, Mount Sinai South Nassau Communities offices and surface parking to the south, and Grand Avenue with commercial businesses and the United States Post Office to the west. The site is the former location of a car storage and parking facility. The applicant makes this application as contract vendee and with the consent of the owner and seller of these parcels. The background purpose and legislative intent of the BMX district is to promote the economic health and vibrancy of this commercial corridor, consisting of and centered along Grand Avenue and the Baldwin-Long Island Railroad Station. As stated in the code, Baldwin community envisions a downtown that is vibrant, pedestrian-friendly, with an active, compact, multimodal LIRR station area at the center of the hamlet. The vision also incorporates a mix of land uses and innovative green infrastructure, components to create a place where residents, commuters, and visitors can shop, dine, and recreate. We believe that our project fits within this vision, and via the testimony of our experts, the town will be able to see that the vision of the Breslin organization is consistent with the town's vision. By way of history, as this board knows, in 2017, Baldwin Downtown and Commercial Resiliency Study was published, and the study recommended the creation of a new overlay district along this very corridor, which would encourage development of a walkable, compact, transit-oriented downtown benefited by a mix of residential, retail, and commercial uses, supported by enhanced transportation and infrastructure improvements. The Town of Hempstead Town Board then enacted the BMX district in response to the Baldwin community needs and the recommendation of the DCCR. So the primary goal of this district is to facilitate private investment, public benefits, and economic development within the downtown Baldwin. The new overlay district seeks to leverage the area's proximity to public transportation by promoting mixed-use, transit-oriented development around the Long Island Railroad to meet increasing demands for housing and retail, drive foot traffic, implement transportation and infrastructure improvements necessary to accommodate future growth, and enhance the visual quality and pedestrian amenities through the implementation of the design guidelines. The Breslin organization is excited to propose this project to the town as we believe and submit that it meets and exceeds the legislative purpose, intent, and goals that the BMX district seeks to achieve. The project, which will be named the Grand at Baldwin, is a mixed-use, transit-oriented development that will secure the vibrancy, economic development, and housing needs necessary for this vital area of the commercial corridor of Baldwin, and which site is located directly across the street from the Baldwin Long Island Railroad. It plays a key role in the redevelopment of the selected Baldwin area by virtue of its prime location and visual prominence. It will promote walkability, additional residents to shop and dine in the area, and will provide a multitude of jobs for local businesses that will flourish due to the influx of these new residents. The project contemplates 215 residential rental units, 10% of which are set aside for workforce housing. It also provides approximately 5,000 square feet of ground floor restaurant and retail space, each of which will front on Sunrise Highway and Grand Avenue, respectively. The project also includes approximately 3,600 square feet of private public park and public plaza, and the retail and public park spaces are for use by the residents of the building and the public in general. To further improve the overall aesthetics of the corridor and facilitate pedestrian flow and public benefit, the applicant is proposing to increase building setbacks along Sunrise Highway, Grand Avenue, and Harrison Avenue, and also to cover the cost of removal of the all overhead utility wires along Harrison and Sunrise, which will be relocated below grade. Those power lines will be below grade. The applicant will introduce robust green landscaping elements and decorative pavement throughout where none exist now. It should also be noted that all parking within the building will be either below grade or grade level and not visible from the street. The garage will have the same facade as the entire building. This is an example of the intricate details that are contemplated in this Breslin development. The site plan engineer and architect will discuss all of these details in much more detail, but I wanted to briefly touch on them to provide the board with a general overview of what has been woven into the project. With respect to the zoning requirements, the project falls within BMX transit-oriented development section of the overlay. To that end, multifamily dwellings and mixed uses such as this one are specifically permitted under the code provisions. And when we say mixed use, we mean residential along with retail, those types of uses that are mixed. Pursuant to Section 429A, the maximum floor area ratio permitted with the granting of a development bonus is 2.0. Without the benefit of a development bonus, the maximum permitted floor area ratio is 1.5. Our project falls at 1.91 with 149,817 square feet of floor area. Were the town to grant Baldwin Jazz a development bonus in accordance with the code's provisions, our project falls well within the bonus. Pursuant to Section 430, the parking requirement permitted with the granting of an adjustment as per Section 431.1D of the code equals 221 parking spaces. Our project currently provides 284 parking spaces, which is sufficient without a parking adjustment. However, we are requesting the benefit of an adjustment, as we recently learned in discussions with the various utility companies that in order to remove and relocate all the utility poles below grade, they will require an easement over our property in order to place electrical equipment below grade vaults. Accordingly, it appears we may lose approximately 23 parking spaces. Were the town to grant the applicant the parking adjustment, we would be well over the parking minimum at approximately 260 spaces. Reminding the board that we are 215 units and all units are studios 1 and 2s. And our parking engineer will speak to the parking that will satisfy this transit-oriented development project. The applicant is also requesting several variances related to density and setbacks. As for the setbacks, the primary purpose in proposing the setbacks from the lot line are to provide greater public and pedestrian access to the sidewalks, the private public park, the public plaza, and the main entrance to the Grand via Harrison Avenue. Any car traffic movement will only be on Harrison in and out of the building. There will not be any vehicles permitted to enter through Grand or Sunrise. The following setback variances are requested: 14.5 feet from the lot line on Grand, where a maximum of 10 is permitted, and 14.9 feet from the property line on Harrison, where 10 is permitted. Finally, in relation to density, we are proposing a density of 215 units, where 108 are the maximum permitted per the code. The proposed project is the definition of a mixed-use transit-oriented project, steps away from the train station. A prime location for the commuter residents, a project developed at this key location requires this density to be feasible. The developer is proposing a project that meets each and every code objective and intent that will have a tremendous financial, social, and cultural impact on the community and will begin to resolve a major housing shortage in the area. Further, it should be noted that the draft environmental impact statement contemplated a total of 1,162 new units of development in this area, and this project at this prime location represents only a small portion of that density which was identified in the DGEIS. It will not interfere with the development of further projects. It will eliminate a source of blight and contamination. The town, the hamlet of Baldwin, and its residents will benefit greatly with the cleanup and redevelopment of the site, along with the proposed parks and amenities provided that will all be maintained by the developer at its own cost. The project will not burden the town's resources, but only add a direct benefit to the town and the hamlet of Baldwin. The town, pursuant to its authority via the BMX code, is able to grant certain zoning incentives and variances as it deems necessary for the benefit of the community and consistent with the code's purposes. In doing so, it can grant a floor area ratio development bonus, a parking adjustment, and those variances as noted earlier. With respect to the other bulk zoning requirements, the project complies with the code's height requirement as the building is 68.12 feet in height, where the maximum height permitted is 75 feet. It complies with the maximum building coverage, rear yard setback, side yard setback, and minimum building setback from 45 feet in height and above. Per the code provisions, the applicant has presented their project to the Design Review Board. During said presentation, the applicant described in detail the architectural design and amenities provided, and the applicant further sent detailed information satisfying all the criteria in the code, which the Design Review Board must consider when referring the matter to the board. The Design Review Board referred the matter to the Town Board and found that considering, among other things, the public-private park, the public plaza, the design improvements to increase pedestrian access, the placing of utility wires below grade, that the applicant has demonstrated a commitment to the principles of the BMX code. The Design Review Board complies with the BMX design guidelines, and a copy of this letter is currently part of the record. Our site engineer will describe in detail the provisions of the public-private park and plaza being provided, the provisions of increased setbacks for pedestrian walkability, and the proposal to relocate those utility lines below grade. These are all community benefits that will serve to increase pedestrian walkability, provide the community with access to a serene and beautiful safe space in the area directly across from the Baldwin train. Pursuant to the code, the town must review the matter to outside consultants for CEQA review, which has been completed. A letter of compliance with no further CEQA has been issued. Walter Sieber again will touch on all those items regarding sewer and water availability, fire protection services, electrical and gas, and our application with the Nassau County Fire Marshal. The applicant and its representatives has met with the local Baldwin Fire Department chiefs, who have issued a letter of no objection to the project. We'll hand that in for the board. We will, of course, continue to work with Nassau County Fire Marshal and the Baldwin Fire Department regarding the development of the project. I'd like to also note for the board, and we have these to submit today, we have received over 600 online and written signatures in support of the project. We have received letters in support from the President of the Chamber of Commerce and the Baldwin Civics. The Breslin organization has approximately had 5 town hall meetings regarding the project with the local chamber and the local civics, and will continue to keep the community involved throughout the various stages of development. Further, we have applied to the Town of Hempstead Industrial Development Agency for a pilot and certain tax benefits. However, for the record, the taxing jurisdictions will not lose any dollars, as we have requested no diminution of current taxes. They will pay the current tax rates, albeit frozen for 3 years during the build, and then they will rise significantly throughout the pilot term. The costs to build this development are estimated to exceed $100 million. The developer has taken every design detail and amenity into account, knowing that this project will be the catalyst that brings the much-needed change to Baldwin. A feasibility study was conducted by our consultant at Nelson Pope and the town's independent consultant, Camoin. Both studies show a positive cash benefit to the town, and although we estimate approximately 200 construction jobs, the independent experts expect approximately 350 jobs during the construction phase, over $31 million in earnings during the construction phase, and over $65 million in new spending, and an additional $20 million in indirect and induced spending, for a total of $86 million during that 3-year time period. This positive economic impact to the town in just 3 short years will be the dramatic change that's needed in the Baldwin area. Once construction is completed, the reports reveal that there will be a total of 178 net new households, which will spend approximately $4.6 million each year, and the total economic impact to the town would be $6.7 million. There will be approximately 13 on-site employment positions, which will yield $750,000 in earnings yearly, and $2.4 million indirect and direct sales. And the total economic impact to the town will be an additional $3 million in earnings and $9.1 million in sales yearly. The project certainly will provide the catalyst for a substantial increase in spending in the Baldwin area by increased property taxes, adding additional residents to shop and dine in the community, and to sustain local businesses that are looking to thrive again. It will eliminate a vacant property directly across from the Long Island Railroad and revitalize the area, and it will enhance the aesthetics of the downtown. Finally, the Breslin organization recognizes that the town has worked tirelessly to implement the overlay zone and worked with local organizations for a number of years and all members of the community to promote this development in Baldwin, to increase all the services in Baldwin and to revitalize the area. And for this reason, Breslin Realty will be committing the amount of $250,000 to the town of Hempstead to be used in its discretion towards its commitment of services to the Baldwin community. So at this time, I would like to call up Walter Sieber to discuss the site plan.
Thank you, Ms. Castagnano. Ms. Sieber, if you just give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Morning, Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Walter Sieber. I'm a Director of Site Development with Cameron Engineering and Associates, with offices at 177 Crossways Park Drive, Woodbury, New York. Also here with me today from the office is Rich Sapolsky, partner with the firm, David Tepper, Seeker and Planning, and Rebecca Goldberg, Traffic and Parking Engineer. Briefly, some of the existing conditions. The property at Sunrise Highway has frontage on Grand Avenue, which is a Nassau County right-of-way, Sunrise Highway, a New York State right-of-way, and Harrison Avenue, a Town of Hempstead right-of-way. The total project area is 78,417 square feet, or 1.8 acres, which comprises the parcel at Sunrise Highway and also a smaller parcel along the Harrison Avenue frontage, which is 110 feet south on Harrison Avenue. The existing properties are generally level, vacant land with no built improvements at this time, and most recently, Sunrise Highway property was being utilized for the storage of motor vehicles. Remedial work will be performed on the project. Both a Phase 1 and a Phase 2 environmental investigation were performed at the subject property. The results of that investigation noted that there were an underground metal storage tank, drainage structures, and an oil water separator from the former uses at the site, in addition to urban fill, which were detected with low levels of SVOCs, or semi-volatile organic compounds. The removals of these structures and soil will be completed with a soil management plan that will follow the rules and regulations of the New York State DEC and in accordance with the Nassau County Department of Health standards. If during construction any other unforeseen structures or structures are found during the construction that need to be removed, those will also be completed in the guidelines of the New York State DEC and the Nassau County Department of Health regulations. With regard to the bulk zoning regulations, the subject property is a key parcel within the town of Hempstead's Baldwin BMX Transit-Oriented Development District. The proposed 215-unit residential development will provide quick and easy access to the Long Island train platform. The walk from either of the building lobby doors is only 450 to 500 feet from the site to the platform stairs on Grand Avenue. Under the TOD bulk regulations, as discussed by Ms. Cajignano, the maximum FAR is 1.5, and the code also permits for an additional 0.5 of FAR for a total development bonus of 2.0 floor area ratio. The building, as designed, has a floor area ratio of 1.91 underneath that threshold. The maximum building coverage permitted is 80% of the total lot area, and the proposed building as designed is 59,190 square feet, which is approximately 75% of the lot area. Again, as discussed, the maximum number of units is 60 units per acre. This application is for 215 units or 119 units per acre, which has been noted as a variance request, but is also being requested to make this a successful and viable project. Under the BMX code, a maximum building height of 75 feet is permitted. The building as designed is 68.12, and that measurement is taken from the median centerline road grade of the three frontages of the property to the top of the parapet wall. Also, as discussed, the Baldwin BMX TOD code does specify some minimum and maximum setbacks for the building. The application is requesting that there be relaxation to those minimum and maximum setbacks to enhance the pedestrian experience at the sidewalk level. With regards to site planning, the proposed building is situated at a very prominent location within the Baldwin community, and more specifically has a very pronounced corner at the intersection of Sunrise Highway and Harrison Avenue. The building has been sited on the site and will truly serve as a gateway landmark building into the Baldwin community, and will also serve as a catalyst to activate the redevelopment in the Baldwin BMX zone and the entire Grand Avenue corridor. As previously stated, this location and this site is directly south of the Long Island Railroad, and this will truly be a transit-oriented development. Again, the residents will have quick access to the Long Island Railroad train platform. The building's also been designed with resident access points at Sunrise Highway and Harrison Avenue. Those building accesses will provide direct access to the residence lobby, amenity spaces, leasing office, mailrooms, and etc. To improve the resident and general public's pedestrian experience, the building has been set back 5 feet from the property line along the Sunrise Highway frontage. This setback provides the right and better opportunity to enhance the pedestrian and safety experience along the busy corridor. From the face of the building to the face of the curb will be a 15-foot wide streetscape. And this streetscape is going to be redeveloped with decorative pavement banding, decorative bollard lighting, new landscape installations to enhance greening at the building foundation. This sidewalk at this frontage will have a total width of almost 12 feet. Along the Harrison Avenue frontage, the building has been set back 21 feet from the property line. This setback provides for an adequate space to develop an inviting and desirable main entrance and provide the adequate room for a vehicular drop-off and pickup area. Designed to maintain a safe separation between vehicles and pedestrian traffic that will enhance those distinctive experiences as people arrive at this facility. This entrance will also be developed with decorative landscaping, lighting, new hardscape treatments. The additional setback is also more aligned to the setbacks of the single-family residence found further south along Harrison Avenue. Harrison Avenue is the only point that this development will have curb cuts as well. The curb cut will provide access to the interior parking area as well as to the resident drop-off area. The parking solution for this development is basically an internal parking with spaces on grade and below grade. This design, integrated to the architecture of the building, will provide for almost total screening of vehicles from all street frontages. Along the Grand Avenue frontage, the building is set back 22.5 feet from the property line. This enhanced setback provides for improved separation to the Grand Avenue right-of-way and permits for the siting of a public plaza area outside one of the retail spaces that have been incorporated into the building design. This area will also be developed with decorative lighting, hardscape treatments, and enhanced landscape plantings. Additionally, to serve both the residents and the general public, included in the site plan is a 2,600 square foot pocket park, which is located on the west side of the proposed development, and it will have frontage on the Sunrise Highway sidewalk. This pocket park is wholly contained within the developer's property, and this space will be a passive public-private amenity for both the general public, residents, and residents' guests. The proposed passive park will have unrestricted use by the residents of the building, and for security purposes, the park will be limited from the hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the general public. The security of the space will be regulated with access gates and potentially controlled with the electronic card readers or key fob access. This space will also be directly connected or adjacent to another commercial space within the retail building, commercial space, retail restaurant space within the building. And patrons of that will be able to access the passive park during their time at the business. The proposed pocket park will be programmed with a water ball, decorative hardscape treatments, a synthetic turf lawn panel. The proposed space will also be landscaped with both specimen, deciduous, and evergreen landscaping, evergreen screening, deciduous shade trees. The park will also be accented with decorative site lighting. It's proposed to have overhead catenary lighting, decorative furniture, and decorative planters throughout. As previously mentioned, in addition to the pocket park, there will also be a public plaza, which is on the Grand Avenue right-of-way frontage. This space will have unrestricted access and use by both residents and the general public, and will also be directly adjacent to the commercial retail space within the proposed building. Again, it's proposed to have landscaping, decorative hardscape treatments, lighting package that's all comprehensive to the development of the facility. Refuse storage and management will be an internal operation to the building. A dedicated refuse room will be built within the footprint of the building, and only on collection nights will containers be brought out to the curb for collection. Also, to support the operations of the building, a dedicated delivery truck space and move-in space has been sited on the Harrison Avenue frontage, and that will be screened with landscaping from the street. On the property, just south of the main development parcel, 12 surface parking spaces are proposed. Of those 12 spaces, it's contemplated to install 6 EV charging stations in this parking facility. During our meeting with the Baldwin Fire Department, it was discussed and it was preferred that EV charging stations not be located on the internal side of the building or within the internal parking facilities. On the second floor of the building, there's an amenity deck proposed for the use by residents and their guests. This space will be programmed with outdoor grilling stations, a synthetic turf multi-purpose lawn panel, walking paths, furniture, decorative lighting, and will be adjacent to indoor amenity spaces on the same level of the building. All building and site signage and site lighting will be a comprehensive package that will comply with all of the requirements that are spelled out within the Baldwin Mixed-Use Zoning Overlay District guidelines. With regards to utilities, throughout the course of the project, we have been making headway with each of the various utility providers. We recently received a letter of sewer availability from the Nassau County Department of Public Works, and that was for the proposed application of 215 residential units and 5,000 square feet of retail restaurant space with the anticipated sanitary flow of 51,850 gallons per day. That letter is dated September 27th, 2022, and we will submit that to the board for their records. We've also engaged Liberty New York Water and have requested a letter of water availability from that utility as well. We have not received the letter, but have had dialogue with the utility provider. They've confirmed that there is a 20-inch water main in the Grand Avenue right-of-way in close proximity to the southwest corner of the site. They also confirmed that within Harrison Avenue there is a 6-inch water main. Ongoing discussions with Liberty Water are currently being conducted. It's anticipated that a letter of water availability will be provided by the utility provider. We have also coordinated with Liberty Water a hydrant flow test, and that test results were received on September 16th, 2022. The analysis on a preliminary level is that there is more than adequate pressure and flow in that water main to service the development. We've also been speaking with PSE&G with regards to electric availability. A letter of availability for electric service was provided to the PSE&G. There was also a site meeting conducted on September 22nd, 2022 with representatives from PSE&G. During that meeting, it was discussed that the developer would propose to pay for the utility poles along Harrison Avenue to be relocated below grade. The impact to this relocation is that the utility provider is asking the developer to grant a 10-foot deep by 30-foot wide utility easement for the benefit of that utility company to place electrical equipment in vaults below grade. As also mentioned earlier in the presentation, the poles along Sunrise Highway will be proposed for removal. We anticipate receiving a letter of electric availability in the near future, and once received, we'll submit to the board for their records. We are also in similar discussions with National Grid with regards to natural gas service, and will provide documentation once received. The site plan was submitted to the Nassau County Fire Marshal for their review of the aerial apparatus and staging and access points to the building. With the relocation of the utility wires below grade, the building will be able to be serviced from both Sunrise Highway and Harrison Avenue with no obstructions, providing 2 points of staging and serviceability for the local fire department. As part of the preliminary plans design, we did look at stormwater storage system and management for the property. We've basically designed a system that will provide for an 8-inch storm event that's being provided in both stormwater storage tanks that'll be integral to the podium level of the building, and the use of concrete leaching galleys below the lower level of the building for stormwater recharge. The groundwater is roughly 16.5 feet below grade, which will allow for adequate separation of drainage from groundwater. The building is also proposed to be developed with a green roof above the podium level on the south side of the building. This improvement will serve to reduce stormwater runoff rates, increase the quality of the stormwater being recharged into the ground, and provide an aesthetically pleasing feature for the units with the windows above that side of the building. As we've been discussing throughout this presentation, the planting plan or the plant installation for this project will be a comprehensive plan that will be comprised of a combination of deciduous trees, shrubs, evergreen trees, and shrubs, specimen plantings at key locations, and evergreen screenings. In addition to tall growing plant material, the landscape plan will also include a palette of ground covers, perennials, ferns, and ornamental grasses. Along the Sunrise Highway frontage and continuing around on the Harrison Avenue frontage is proposed to be a series of repeatedly spaced columnar trees. The comprehensive landscape plan will be complementary to the building's architecture and reinforce the design of the building. In high-traffic areas, the landscape plantings are designed to accentuate these spaces. The proposed and selected plant material shown on the updated landscape planting plan is in keeping with the plant material outlined in the design guidelines for the overlay district. If you'd like, I could take questions now, or we can move through the presentation.
Yeah, why don't we go through the presentation? We'll come back with some questions at the end, okay? Thank you.
Walter, at this time, I'd like to call Jack Raker, Minowasco Architects.
Hi, just give your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. I appreciate it. My name is Jack Raker. I'm with a principal at Minnow and Wasco Architects and Planners. And the address is 80 Lambert Lane in Lambertville, New Jersey. If you could go to the next slide, please. I'm going to start, actually the next one after that. You stay right there. So I'm going to just talk a little bit. I'm going to actually speak more to the slides than the previous two presenters to sort of review and go into detail about the building. I'm going to just give you a quick overview. I know it may have been said before, but we have about 215 dwelling units, of which 46 are studios, 138 are one bedrooms, and 31 are two bedrooms. What you're looking at on the screen here is the below grade parking. So this level is actually accessed via a ramp. As you go into the upper level, there's a ramp that takes you down to this lower level. This is all private parking for the residents. And then there are elevators at this level that take you up to the floor that you'll be living in. You can go to the next slide, please. This building will be entirely fully accessible, fully code compliant. It'll be sprinklered with the most comprehensive sprinkler system, which is an NFPA 13 sprinkler system. And again, we'll work with the fire marshals to comply with all of their requests and to work with them to make sure the building is as safe as possible. What you're looking at on screen, you'll notice there are two somewhat orange colors. Those are the cafes or restaurants. That's the retail space that's in the project. Those have frontages on both Sunrise and Grand. So they have actually recessed a little bit. They also have some plaza space in front of them. There'll be some outdoor eating areas to really activate the streets, which we think is great. And then on the right-hand side of the drawing in the gray and the blue is actually the lobby and the main entry to the project. And then the gray is support on either side. You'll see there's some amenity space, some fitness. I have some sample images to show you of fitness and amenity that we've done in other projects, and I'll show them to you very shortly. But essentially, you'd pull up at the front of the building. There's a little drop-off area. That's where we'll take deliveries, FedEx, UPS. There are plenty of packages to these buildings. Packages have to be managed by management, and there's a package room inside. Pull up, they're checked in, they drop off their stuff, and they go. Residents are notified typically via some type of email or text that they have a package, and they can stop by on their way home and pick up their package and take it in. Usually these are large areas. There's bins for opening up your package and throwing out the trash, and they're very comprehensive and actually a really social space in the building. People will go there and open packages and see your neighbors that you haven't seen in a while. They become a bit of a social space. Fitness is in the top right corner, I apologize. And that also helps activate the street. You'll see that space being utilized from the exterior, which is another way to keep these active amenities and active uses inside the building along the street. You won't notice, there is some parking at this level, and it's entered on the bottom right. You really won't notice the parking at this level. We've done a great job at hiding it with all of the amenities, the retail, and I'll go through some images in a little bit. Next slide, please. So this is the level above that, and what you saw, at least in some previous slides, was that center area, that white area right there in the middle. That's an amenity space, an outdoor amenity space. It's open to the sky. The units look down into it, and in that area we have some grilling areas. There's outdoor lawn area. Great place for people to go and socialize when the weather's good. And since you can't really grill, you have an apartment, you can't grill on your terrace, it's a great place to go and get out and do some grilling. And then, there's tables, chairs, there's some trellises that you could sit under. But on the inside, in the tan space that's shown there, it's another sort of lounge area that you can go and sit. There'll be like a fireplace in there. Place if you want to work from home and you don't want to sit in your apartment, you could go down there and sit and relax and get some work done. We have about total, there's about, on the ground floor, I didn't say the square footage, we have about 5,000 square feet of retail, and then a little 600 square foot co-work cafe. We have about 1,700 square feet of fitness planned, and then we have about this area here, this lounge area is about 3,700 square feet as well. So this building will be highly amenitized. Next slide, please. And these are some samples of those types of amenities. This is just showing a sort of bar, TV area, great place when there's a big sporting event on that they can go, sit and watch the games together, lounge area with a fireplace, and then fitness areas that's very well amenitized. Next slide, please. And you can see this is going to be somewhat repetitive as it goes up. It's a very similar footprint. All these units stack above one another, and all the way up through the 5 floors of the building. Next slide, please. So the unit plans are also very well amenitized. They're open floor plans, hard surface floors, stone countertops, they're with stainless steel appliances. These are all very well amenitized apartments. And, with people, watching HGTV nowadays, people really recognize good design and they demand it. So, you really need to bring your A game when designing these units and for people to enjoy them. You can see in some of the photos of the typical kitchens, and these are very typical of apartments, of luxury apartments in the area. Next slide, please. This is the roof plan. Doesn't seem very interesting, but what I want to note is we've kept all of the mechanical systems to the center around the corridors. That's important. We have a lot here because every unit gets its own heating and air conditioning. So there's a lot of condensers on the roof. They're small, about 3 by 3, but we end up putting them over the hallways in the building so they're not visible from the street. Plus we have a parapet that comes up around the edge of the building, and it makes it less visible. Next slide, please. This is a blow-up area of that center courtyard area. You can see there's like a landscaped green, and the hatched area to the north of the page is some hardscape, and that's where there'll be some grilling areas. I do have some sample slides as well of what this area typically looks like. Could you go to the next slide, please? So this is a typical garage deck top amenity. There's trellises, grilling stations, places for seating, lounge areas, and just some grass areas. It's usually simulated grass. It's easier to maintain, and it's places for people to just hang out on a great day and enjoy the outside. Next slide, please. I'm not going to focus too much on the elevations. We do comply with building height, but I'm going to show you some rendered slides because it's really the more natural way to view a building. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the slide as you're looking on the north side of the project, and you can see what you're looking at here is you're seeing the green, that green line is the, I'm sorry, it's the south side, I apologize. You're looking at the green roof.
Just so you clarify, and is that Harrison with the car on it coming down? Is that about right?
This is Harrison that you're looking toward Sunrise Highway?
Yeah, okay, all right. So that's Harrison, that's not Sunrise Highway, just trying to get the visual.
That's correct,
Okay.
That's correct. So we're looking at, there's a parking area next to the building. You're seeing, and our building steps back. Our garage entry is right there at the corner, and you could see that green roof that is adding in some nice greenery to the building at a level that's not at grade. And then just at the bottom, you can see that there is just a hint of the entry, the main entry to the building. Let's go to the next slide. You'll get a better view of that elevation. So this is the same elevation, just looking the opposite direction. You can see the main entry is right there at the center. There's a car there sitting out in front. That's where you'll be able to pull up, drop off, pick up. If you were getting an Uber, you could jump into an Uber there. It's out of the right of way, so you're not having any interference with cars coming on. But we have a great building, lots of glass, quality materials, brick, hardy panel. It's a very, metal railings and metal sunshades. So it's a very highly detailed and quality building. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is a view on the corner, just moving out, seeing the corner at sunrise. You see in that, you're going to get the next shot you're going to see is probably a night scene, getting some lighting on the building. But you could see the same materials, irrelevant of what side you're looking at the building. We didn't change materials. We're using the same quality of materials on all sides of the building. Go to the next slide, please. So this one, it's a little bit more at night. You can see some of the light coming out through the windows. Next slide, please. Sunrise Highway elevation. You see you're looking really at a parking garage at the lower level, but you really don't see it. We've activated it with a great cafe to the right that fronts the Pocket Park, and we have our fitness to the left that really blocks a lot of your view of the garage. And we've treated the facade the same, so if you're walking down, you're not going to notice any difference one way or the other. And notice you don't see any mechanical equipment. It's just too low. From the perspective, walking around this building, you won't see any of the mechanical equipment. Next slide, please. This is moving a little further down. You're catching the bank. Again, it's along Sunrise. You have a great view into that Pocket Park with all of its amenities. We've got a great water feature planned for that Pocket Park. We realize that Sunrise is, highly trafficked highway and produces some noise, so we've done some things to mitigate that, and creating a nice water feature inside that Pocket Park does help drown out some of that car noise. Next slide, please. And we've taken great care to the color, the accent banding color on our building is a very similar feel to the bank building that's adjacent. Lots of glass. The bank has that vertical glass orientation. We've done a very similar design on the building where you have those vertical glass elements in that brick facade. And you can see just peeking over the roof some balconies that are overlook the pocket park below. Next slide, please. Again, this is the other retail area that has some landscaping in front, also some outdoor seating area. And you'll notice here is a strong gesture toward the bank. The way those windows are grouped vertically like that, we think is a great complement to the surrounding architectural elements. We think this building is going to be a great asset to your community. And, you know, as you looked at the building, and go back a couple of slides, something I did forget to mention. Just right there is good. What we've done is we've used breaks in the building, changing color and material so that it's not one long monotonous structure. We've broken that building up to break up its mass. So we've done some, you know, great design work to really blend it into the surrounding architecture. And that's pretty much concludes my presentation. I don't know if any questions from the board.
Just going to have you hang out for a little bit. I'm going to have some questions. We'd like to do the presentation first.
Great.
At this time, I'd like to call Dave Tepper, the planning manager at Cameron Engineering.
Hello, good morning, members of the board and the public. My name is David Tepper. I'm planning manager at Cameron Engineering, with over 10 years at the firm. And the address for the record, our offices are at 177 Crossways Park Drive, Woodbury, New York, 11797. I'm an AICP certified planner with over 15 years of professional planning experience in both the public and private sector. And I just wanted to sort of share some of the planning history that's led to the development of this project and some of the secret details that I think may be helpful to the board in evaluating the project. Just a bit of planning history. The Baldwin community has been involved with revitalization efforts for well over 10 years now. Actually, one of my first projects at Cameron Engineering was the Nassau County Infill Redevelopment Feasibility Study, which was an extensive study of 21 Long Island Railroad train stations all across Nassau County. And the end result of this process, Baldwin was actually selected as one of the top 3 winning station areas. And it received this designation in part because it had significant transit-oriented redevelopment opportunities, which include vacant and underutilized properties, among other criteria, strong levels of community support, and the infrastructure and locational attributes to support redevelopment, which I think have been discussed quite extensively tonight. The proposed project site that we're discussing is located approximately 450 feet from the railroad platform, which is actually closer than much of the existing commuter parking. So it's true transit-oriented development there. But continuing on with the prior studies, I just wanted to point out that this was well over 10 years, and it led to future community meetings to sort of further refine the approach in redeveloping these areas and how the density would be appropriately transitioned from this, you know, highly active commercial corridor down to the more residential neighborhoods of Baldwin. And again, from these early planning studies, the proposed project site has consistently been identified as a key project site with access to both the Long Island Railroad, but also as a key site in linking together the Merrick Road, Grand Avenue, and Sunrise Highway commercial corridors. So the result of this study that started in 2012 ultimately led to a study which Elizabeth mentioned, which is titled Resilient Baldwin, the Baldwin Downtown Commercial Corridor Resiliency Study. And that was completed in about 2017, partially in response to Superstorm Sandy as a resiliency and recovery strategy for the hamlet of Baldwin. But I think most importantly from that study, you know, despite impacts from flooding and physical changes, the study really identified the need for economic resiliency in Baldwin, and that includes revitalizing the commercial corridors, increasing pedestrian and bicycle activity, and supporting the community with additional housing options. And the key recommendation, as I said, you know, this resiliency study really bridged the gap between physical and flooding impacts from a storm more towards economic development and the commercial recovery of Baldwin. And the key outcome of that was the development and recommendation from that study led to the development of the Baldwin Mixed Use Overlay District, which is the district before us today, and our project represents one of the first applications under that district. Just to kind of keep the timeline going, I just want to discuss some of the processes that went on with the adoption of the BMX district. So when a zoning district is adopted like this, obviously the area that's affected is quite large. It has potential for changes within the community. So the town engaged a consultant to prepare what's known as a draft generic environmental impact statement. The generic term is only used to indicate that the study is looking at an entire area rather than a particular property. So that's the appropriate type of study when performing a zoning change. And this study, you know, a DGIS is a highly extensive study required by SECRA, state regulations, and it contemplated what the build out of the Baldwin downtown area could be under this zoning. So in this case, it looks at potential parcels for development, likely parcels for development, and, you know, under a maximum build out scenario, what would that really look like? And in this case, as Elizabeth had mentioned, the DGIS contemplated approximately 1,162 new housing units within Baldwin that could be developed under the current code. And that provides a baseline for their analysis. So the report looks at everything from water use, sanitary use, traffic, noise, visual impacts, school impacts, et cetera, et cetera. And ultimately, the study that was performed to enable the zoning found that the Baldwin community could support this level of development, and it would be, they set up their study focusing on 9 properties of interest, including the proposed project site, which we're discussing today. So, bridging this all together, most recently, the Baldwin community was a recipient of a very exciting initiative through the state known as the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. And that's basically a $10 million award for the Baldwin community to develop projects that are not simply projects undertaken by the public sector, but a mix of public and private sector projects that really act as a catalyst for future development and can really help projects get started where they really might otherwise not be feasible.
Just a quick question while you're there. Focusing on the $10 million, can you just explain quickly where that $10 million is actually allocated to in the development process?
Sure. I can provide a brief summary. So that money is distributed across a range of projects which were developed by the Baldwin community. As I'm sure many are aware, there have been many community meetings that sort of develop those projects, and the community itself, working with its planners and with the state, come up with a final slate of projects. So I believe it's approximately 10 projects for Baldwin. I'm most familiar with the project with the residential component. There are 4 within this process identified and awarded by the state.
Okay, I guess what I'm just trying to explain to everyone that's listening is the $10 million is divided into 10 different projects, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the $10 million is not utilized for infrastructure or actual, I guess, beautification of Baldwin. The $10 million is directly invested into the developers and the development of the projects.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So there's not streets being done, there's not sidewalks being constructed, there's not light and lampposts. The money, the $10 million state funding is going directly to the developers.
Correct. And
Thank you.
That's a good distinction. The DRI grant program is not intended to do your standard maintenance and infrastructure upkeep, as the town board mentioned. It is more for these catalytic projects that can really kickstart a local economy and really provide the investment that is otherwise not hitting these communities.
No, absolutely, and I think it's great. I just want to make sure that everyone sort of understands.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'd be happy. I understand it's a fairly complicated process. There's a lot of moving parts here. I'd be happy to answer questions from the public or the board following the presentation. So, as I was mentioning, of those projects that we just discussed in Baldwin, there are 4 projects with residential components that were awarded funding through the DRI process. There's a project that we're presenting on today, which represents 215 residential units. There's 775 Brooklyn Avenue, which is across Sunrise Highway, just north of the Long Island Railroad tracks, and that is proposing 107 residential units, 24,000 square feet of commercial, and 81 parking spaces on approximately 0.62 acres, 0.62 acre site. So that's a density comparison, 172 units per acre within the BMX TOD zone. Moving further up Grand Avenue, there's another residential mixed-use project, 2130, 2134 through 2138 Grand Avenue, and that comprises 60 residential units, 7,800 square feet of commercial on a approximately 1 acre site. So as I mentioned before, this is, although slightly less dense, this is also in an area where the code regulates it to be slightly less dense. And this is by design, where the code purposefully concentrates density near the train station, and gradually, as we move back towards the residential neighborhoods, it steps back. So in this area, we're down to 45 units per acre, and as you move further, essentially further away from that central spine on Grand Avenue and north and south of the Long Island Railroad, you see that density start to decrease. And lastly, the final project awarded under the DRI was 785 Merrick Road, which represents a 100% affordable 33-unit, 100% residential development. So in total, these projects, as I said, 4 projects with mostly mixed use, but including residential components, represents 415 units if these were all to be developed as requested. And as I mentioned, the DGIS, which enabled this zoning and essentially enabled these projects to be proposed before you today, analyzed well above this number. Again, 1,162 units were contemplated. And again, just the proposed project we're discussing today representing an even smaller percentage of that at 215. So my colleague Walter did touch on many of the infrastructure potential impacts, which are a big part of the SECRA analysis that we perform. I did want to just touch on a few items that sort of fall outside that infrastructure category and sort of more into the day-to-day lives of the Baldwin community. So one of the, I guess, hot button issues with any development, redevelopment project is school children. And it's, rightly so, everybody is concerned about their children, about their school district. And I just wanted to bring it up because it's a rather nuanced issue, particularly when we're talking about TOD development, but also when we're talking about a development that's proposing over 85% studio and one-bedroom units. And the net impact of these, both the locational influence, the unit mix that we've developed, as well as the types of amenities that the architect highlighted and the marketing that would be associated with this building, we do not foresee a significant number of school children at all. Just going back to the DGIS that the town used to adopt this zoning, that too has to look at school children, potential school children across the entire zoning district. So under that full build-out scenario, 1,162 units, the DGIS that the town prepared estimated that it could result in 186 school children across the entire district. And that's using 100% two-bedroom units across the district, so that's a relatively conservative estimate. School children associated with two-bedroom units are estimated at a higher rate than one-bedroom units, if that makes sense. I believe it's pretty intuitive. And going further, the studios are predicted to generate far fewer than even one-bedrooms, as they're typically, with this project, although the unit sizes vary slightly, we'll say averaging about 550 square feet for a studio unit, which is not a typical situation for raising children and not typically a type of apartment that somebody would seek out with a family. So, and just to clarify, for using the similar projections, which again I believe are rather conservative, our proposed project could result in up to 18 school children of those 186 contemplated in the DGIS. So again, that's a relatively small number. Our development project represents, approximately 18.5% of the total unit count contemplated in the DGIS, but we're closer to about 10% of the total children. So again, that's reflective of the type of development that we're, bringing before you today, where it's 85% studio and one bedroom, and it's really not designed to be the types of units that would attract families or really encourage that type of use. So I'd be happy to answer questions on that. I know the school issue is nuanced. It's quite detailed, and it can be very different across multifamily developments depending on which community they're in, where they're located, so on and so forth. But I'd be happy to address that and answer any questions there.
Why don't we again wait till the end? I know we had I read the study on the development at Patchogue and the actual impact of students, but why don't we continue and you do a little standby in case any questions come up at the end of the presentation?
Sure. Yeah. And just sort of the next piece is sort of more, going back to our development of our project here and the considerations that we've sort of analyzed in developing this, both the unit mix, the location, and the overall design of the project. So as I mentioned, you're looking at a prime location. This is a key redevelopment site that has been identified in every single planning study, basically every planning meeting that has accompanied those studies, as a key redevelopment site. As it's been mentioned, it's a site that is subject to prior contamination from use for car storage and associated activities there. So this represents an opportunity to remove contamination from a community that, in just being candid, does not happen without private investment. Often these sites will sit and linger undeveloped because of these very contamination issues. And the idea that it's, our applicant has already invested a significant amount of effort into the phase 1 and phase 2 and developing of a remediation plan. And I just wanted to point out that this remediation, when you are cleaning up a site for residential use, that cleans it up to basically the highest level of safety and cleanup. If you were using it for some industrial use, you're not technically required to get it to quite that level. So we really feel that's a major asset, and we really wanted to address that point today, as it's a critical piece that, the density request that we're bringing before you is in large part due to this cleanup activity, and it's quite a common tool used in planning where density bonuses are granted to enable this type of cleanup and allow a developer to actually get in there and do the work needed. Secondly, I've sort of covered this point at several points in the presentation, but I did want to just reiterate that this project has been designed and refined over a very extensive period of time, both in the planning world. As I said, it's over 10 years of planning, including multiple studies at the county level, at the town level, private developers participating in this process, the community participating in this process. So we really feel we're in tune with that. We've been on the ground basically since the beginning, and we've taken every step in the process to hit the legislative intent of the zone and also the design criteria that has been developed through this zone and the design review board. I know we've discussed the locational attributes. The distance to the Long Island Railroad is just, even amongst transit-oriented development across Long Island, it's pretty unique. There's really no reason for somebody to use their car to access the train ever, and that's, you can't say that for every type of development. And lastly, just focusing on the actual build-out of the site. I know we're talking about an increased request for density here, but one of the, I'd say, unique aspects of this project, and I'm somewhat familiar in multifamily projects across Long Island, although we're requesting a density increase, we're well within the height limit and all other dimensional regulations set forth within the code, with the exception of the setbacks, which are designed for improving public spaces and dealing with utilities. We're not requesting anything above and beyond what the visual impact would look like, what the height impact would look like, and I think that's an important consideration, that although there's a density increase, there's really no height increase or much of a change in how it would appear to the community. What it does allow, in allowing the additional density, however, is a really important critical mass located right in the heart of the commercial corridor. And this is something that's been addressed in nearly every planning study, that we feel this project could stand alone and provide a lot of these economic revitalization benefits and pedestrian activity benefits that really would not happen with a much more scaled down project, which it doesn't allow the same type of vibrancy and really the infusion of a large number of residents right into the center of downtown where nobody's really living right now. So that wraps up my presentation for today, and I would be happy to address any of the points covered today or any of the other items.
I'm going to ask you to hang out, get a little cozy there, and we'll do the whole presentation first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. At this time, I'd like to call up Rebecca Goldberg, who will discuss traffic and parking.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Supervisor, board members. Rebecca Goldberg, Civil Engineering Director with Cameron Engineering, same address, 177 Crossways Park Drive in Woodbury. Been a practicing Long Island-based transportation engineer for roughly 22 years. I prepared the transportation portion of the seeker consistency analysis that was submitted to the board, and I'm here to just discuss the pertinent points today. First, the site context is very important when we're talking about the site driveway, where the driveway is and why it's placed where it is on our proposed plan. There are 3 frontages for the site. We have Sunrise Highway, high volume state jurisdiction. Then on the west is Grand Avenue, slightly less volume and Nassau County jurisdiction. And then Harrison Avenue, the lowest volume of the 3 frontages and town jurisdiction. So when we have multiple frontages, there's a long-standing policy that New York State and Nassau County have held for at least 20 years at this point that's called access management. And that basically says that when you have multiple frontages, you want to locate the driveway on the lowest order roadway, which in this case is Harrison Avenue. And the point of that is to minimize friction potential with traffic on the main roads and to minimize vehicle conflicts and enhance safety. So there will not be any access on Grand or on Sunrise. The access has in addition to the driveway, there is also a parallel drop-off and pickup lane that's parallel to Harrison. The storage is roughly 90 feet, and there's room for at least 2 large delivery trucks at a time, a garbage truck, maybe even a school bus, or up to 4 cars for day-to-day drop-off and pickup for residents. There is no need to park or have any parking or staging on Harrison Avenue associated with this project. And as a sidebar, that does minimize the chance for interaction that there might be with existing queues for the retail uses to the north and east. The applicant has no control over that. They have control over their own driveway, and this driveway is proposed almost as far south as the frontage allows. In concert with state requirements, the closest access point needs to be, per state DOT, at least 75 feet from Sunrise, and we exceed that distance. The site distance itself, the views to the left and to the right are supposed to meet with what we call AASHTO requirements. So based on the prevailing speed on Harrison, the view to the north coming in and out of the driveway will reach Sunrise Highway, and that's the limit of what the view would be required to be. The view to the south extends at least 300 feet, which exceeds the AASHTO requirement there as well. So the driveway is really placed in the ideal situation with the context of this property. Access to and from the north, also, we want to mention that the intersection of Harrison and Sunrise Highway, there's a concrete median going across Sunrise. So you're only able to access the site with right turns off of Sunrise Highway and then right turns onto Sunrise Highway. So again, with respect to vehicle conflict and between different turning maneuvers, this is really the ideal configuration. So before I get into the traffic numbers, I just want to get into a little bit more detail with the distance to the Long Island Railroad. This property is essentially as close to the Baldwin train station as it could be without physically abutting the station area. If someone exits the lobby door on Sunrise Highway, which is pedestrian, a doorway only, it's not for vehicle traffic, and then they walk west along Sunrise to the existing intersection with Grand Avenue and cross Grand Avenue, that first stair up to the train platform, it's roughly 450 feet, which is not even 2 minutes to walk if someone's going at a slow 3-mile-per-hour pace. The waiting room is a few hundred feet further east, but again, you're talking less than a 5-minute walk from door to door, which is extremely convenient. The intersection at Sunrise at Grand, it's under State Department of Transportation control. There are already crosswalks going in all 4 corners, so to go north-south, whichever side of the street on Grand that you are. There's a crosswalk on the south side of Grand. There are push buttons on all corners. There are pedestrian walk, don't walk, what we call hand-man symbols with countdown timers that as long as somebody pushes the button, you will see how much time there is to cross the street. And then you also have what we call audible controls, where you push the button and the signal will actually tell you to wait until your direction has the light to cross. So as far as the state intersection goes, it's actually very complete streets oriented already. The application also does some enhancements for what we call complete streets improvements. There will be new ADA compliant sidewalk on all of the frontages, ADA compliant ramps to meet current standards. And then the sidewalk, depending on the frontage, is either going to be bounded by vegetation or some aesthetic concrete or pavement treatment. So it'll look very nice, and it'll give people maybe a slight sense of separation from the street. As far as traffic goes, what we did was we compared the traffic generation based on the town's finding statement that identified a threshold for peak Saturday peak hour traffic and that said that anything below that threshold will fit within the previously identified mitigation and that we don't need to do anything further. The calculated numbers are 14%, or roughly 100 to 122 trips per hour. So that's 14% of the total threshold number, as opposed to 10% of the threshold that's in the DGEIS. However, the difference is fairly small. It's not significantly out of line with the land area. And then it's likely an overprojection, but we wanted to take a conservative look in our analysis. So the trips that we calculated, first, they're based on all of the commercial space being used for restaurant use. High turnover, maybe something like a Panera, a Grab and Go, something with activity morning, afternoon, and on the weekends. If the space was used as a typical retail space, then the associated traffic would be less than what's in our report. So we tried to take the conservative approach and show the highest possible yield for this property. There is, just as another point, there is no fast food proposed, there's no room for a drive-through, and the applicant is not seeking that. More importantly, out of the entire roughly 150,000 square foot of floor area, only 5,000 square feet is commercial. So the entire square footage that's associated with the requested density bonus is for multifamily residential. And compared to other uses that are permitted in the BMX district, meaning retail, restaurant, and office, all of the uses benefit from being what we call TOD, or transit-oriented, but multifamily has 50% more to 200% more what we call traffic credit, being situated this close to train and bus service. So the requested density bonus is trying to focus multifamily residential in this site as close as possible to the train station where it has the most benefit and the least additional impact to traffic. And then another point, the town GIS analyzed traffic district-wide with the same transit credit for every parcel. And, we would do the same. It's reasonable on a global scale that you see in a generic EIS. Realistically, the closer a site is to a railroad, the higher the potential credit may be. And the town document references what they call a NIMTAC, New York Metropolitan Transportation Council, that there's data that can support transit credits of up to 50%. So the town document and our document use half that number. If we had used the NIMTAC number, we would reduce our projected traffic even further and be very close to that 10% threshold that's already in the town document. Next, with respect to parking. The submitted plans show that the applicant has a plan to be code compliant with 284 provided parking spaces relative to 283 required under the base code. It was mentioned a little earlier that PSEG, the electric utility, is requiring an easement along Harrison Avenue that will impact the lower level of parking. So this request only came in about a week or two ago. We have not had the opportunity to reconfigure the lower level. But if we are now being required to pursue an approval under the parking density bonus provision, the required number, again, based on restaurant and not retail space, which is a conservative projection, we have a 63 space surplus. Again, we're starting with 284 spaces relative to 221 required. So the applicant was not initially pursuing the parking approval for density bonus. They're required to, based on having this easement requirement come in. The easement is not related to the density bonus. The provided parking, we have the 12 physically separate spaces to the south, and then 107 spaces on the grade, mainly covered under the building, and then the remainder of the parking would be underneath in a protected garage. For ADA parking, there is a site-wide 2-space ADA surplus, 7 required, 9 provided. And then the split between the commercial space with 52 spaces, and then 55 at-grade spaces on the main level for residential. So while we haven't had the opportunity yet to reconfigure the lower level, we are very comfortable. Again, we have a 63-space surplus to work with. We will still have a surplus after reconfiguring the lower level parking, accommodating the PSEG easement. With respect to circulation, all of the parking is designed to be what we call town code compliant. Parking spaces are 9 by 18. Drive aisles are appropriately wide. ADA parking spaces are at least 8 feet wide, which is required by the ADA. So we have no concerns with parking and driving maneuverability. The underground parking will accommodate cars and SUVs. As already described, there is no need for trucks or delivery vehicles to access the lower level because of the proposed drop-off lane on Harrison. Okay, so just to summarize, compared to the town GIS, our consistency analysis shows similar traffic, that the requested density bonus is not going to generate enough traffic that cannot be absorbed. The parking will either be code compliant with the density bonus provision that is required because of the PSEG easement, and there will be additional pedestrian amenities for the sidewalk along the frontages and within the property. The driveway is in the optimal location based on the frontages. That completes my presentation. I will not ask if you want me to have questions. I will be sitting right here.
No, I'm definitely going to come back to you about the PSEG easement and the impact. So we'll definitely come back to you. You know what? We're actually going to, how long do you need? You want to take a 10-minute break? If we're going to take a 10-minute break, the stenographer needs a break, so it'll be good opportunity to get a drink, get a cup of coffee. We have a cafeteria right outside. You can give them all the business you want. And why don't we say we'll reconvene at approximately at 12:40. That's 15 minutes.
What's that? I got this. Actually, I was kind of annoyed. Scott Short, I have a job right over here. So see you. Did you retire yet? We have enough of this nonsense. Let me know if you figure out how to do that. Right?